Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild, and welcome back to another Once in a Wild Wednesday, where we try to go live each and every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time across social media to bring the zoo to you virtually. And before we talk about anything else, let's go ahead and just get started. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Once in a Wild Wednesday. My name is Amanda, and I am the founder of Once in a Wild, which is a mobile zoo based right here in South Texas. We're specifically in San Antonio, and we can service the South Texas area in person to bring the zoo to you. We can come to your birthday party, your classroom, nursing home for animal therapy, anything at all, photo opportunity for your next wedding coming up, and you name it, we can bring animals to it within reason, of course. And if you happen to not live in our neck of the woods, the good thing that we have as well for you is going to be virtual opportunities to learn about animals through Zoom. So you can actually hire us for a Zoom room animal encounter where you get to pick the animals to learn about. Those are great for classrooms, but also for any reason at all. We can bring the zoo to anyone all over the world as long as you have internet. Now, welcome back to our usually weekly live stream animal encounter, where we'd like to bring some animals out to the show and teach you about them. And also, we like to be interactive, talk to you guys, take your questions over a live stream. And hello, we can show you exactly how we would show those questions as an example there. We're on Twitch. We're all over the place today. Over on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube. Like I said, Twitch is a new one for us. Twitter. We're all over the place. And we're also on Instagram tonight as well via another device over next week. But we do like to go live as often as possible to make sure and educate people that watch us and follow us, and to check in with you guys and to show you guys what's going on with us and talk a little bit about maybe public events and things like that. And today, I thought I would just go ahead and talk about some frequently asked questions that we often get about our animals, about my career, and about Once in a Wild in general. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, I would love to answer your questions as we have this live stream together, of course, with you guys live watching with me. But I also want to kind of go over some of the frequently asked questions that I get from the kids of all ages at our animal programs, whether they be virtual or in person. Now, a lot of our animals are kind of exotic animals, of course, and we do get a lot of very interesting questions from kids and from adults. Adults oftentimes ask even funnier questions than the kids sometimes. And I try to be kind of funny during my presentations as well, and try to prompt questions and prompt interaction. I'm very interactive, and we don't just preach at people or talk about facts without any interaction in our animal programming. And by the way, if you do want to help us out, we do rely on your donations and your purchases to keep going. So if you want to, of course, purchase your own animal encounter that is custom for you, we start at a very affordable price and kind of go up from there. So if you guys want to actually find out more about that, you can visit our website, onceinawild.com, or you can actually go to onceinawild.com or any of our social media, and you can either message us on the website, you can message us on social media, or you can actually text us on the number which is provided on the website. That way you can get more information regarding our pricing, our packages, and our choices of animals, etc. That's the best way to get a hold of us, is to just go ahead and inquire about that, and we get right back to you, because everything is very custom here at Once in a Wild. So we're a little bit of something for everybody. We do have furry creatures and feathery creatures, but we also have creepy crawlies, as you guys probably know, and a little bit of something for every age range as well. We even provide petting zoos and animal therapy too. And so we're going to go over some frequently asked questions that I often get. We'll see how good my brain is at remembering them. And Ricky, of course, is watching too, and he's going to help me to remember some of those frequently asked questions. And one of the questions is actually the title of this stream, which is, why do cold-blooded animals shed their skin? So we'll get to that in a little bit. But I want to let you guys know some other ways to help us out are just by following us on social media. That's a great free way to help us out. Believe it or not, that does help to spread the word about our message and about what we do. And it helps to kind of allow people to discover us. And hopefully they will want to be interested in animal encounters of their own, right? And maybe sponsor our animals too. So you can also, of course, sponsor our animals, like I just mentioned. You can do that through Patreon, and you can do that through all sorts of means. So if you go to onceinawild.com, or if you go go ahead and text or call us anytime. We can get you started with that if you happen to be interested in sponsorships of our animals, specific animals if you want, or you can just kind of leave it up to us if you want. But we'll get you started on more information there if you are interested. And of course, as always, you can donate to our zoo. Visit onceinawild.com/donate, and that will give you all the options there. And that, of course, on most of our platforms tonight is right down below, so you can't miss it. Over on Instagram, I believe we have that in our bio, and if we don't, it's on our website, onceinawild.com/donate, and that can help us out quite a bit. Another way that you can actually donate to us is just by our Amazon wish list. You don't have to donate money if you don't want to. You can actually go to our Amazon wish list and pick out some of the pre-selected items and just send them straight to us. There's a lot of items on that wish list that we frequently use and we frequently need to take care of our animals, and that helps out quite a bit. And of course, just by liking, subscribing, following, all the things that most YouTubers and other want you to do. That is also very, very helpful as well, and another free way to help us out. So we really appreciate all of our friends, family, and followers for tuning in on Wednesday nights whenever we do go live. And by the way, if we don't go live, we typically run a rerun. That way there is something to watch. So we hope you enjoy those. And if we are running a rerun, there's probably a good reason. I probably have another, maybe like a show and tell I'm doing at a school, or maybe I'm over here doing a birthday party or having some animal therapy sessions with a client in person, or maybe I have another Zoom at the same time. You never know. So sometimes I can't necessarily do both all the time. I wish somebody would invent the cloning device now, please. Scientists, get on that immediately. That way I can have several of me to help out the company. Although we do have wonderful staff that helps us out as well. But I like to do the live stream, so that is a little bit difficult if I have to do something else at the same time, obviously. So that's one of the reasons why we do that. But I do want to address a lot of y'all's questions tonight. So if you have any of those burning questions that you always wanted to ask me, please, and now is the time. We always do keep it family friendly here on our channel, though, because kiddos are watching with their parents, parents are watching with their kiddos, and everybody's watching together. So we want to make sure it is family friendly. And if it isn't family friendly, I will definitely not address that. So I just wanted to let you guys know. And if this is your first time visiting us here at Once in a Wild, I hope you enjoy it. We have brought a few I would say not so furry and feathery creatures tonight, and I hope that doesn't deter you from watching again or checking out our videos from the past. Go in the past and watch some videos about rabbits, hedgehogs. We've even got birds, of course. We've got an owl, Rango the owl. We've got all sorts of animals for everyone. But today we brought 2 reptiles, and we brought 1 creepy crawly, if you will, an arachnid. I'll tell you their names first. So the arachnid is named Blondie, and one of the reptiles is Thanos. And the other reptile is actually Logan. So we've got 2 kind of superhero types names, and one, Blondie is actually named after the singer Blondie, of course. And we'll get to those in just a little bit. But I do want to go ahead and answer some of your burning questions already. It looks like Ricky already has some examples of FAQs that we often hear, and we hear a lot of questions. It's one of my favorite parts about the job is as an educator and also somebody who teaches about animals, there's going to be a ton of questions at a presentation, which is fantastic because it helps me to keep my mind going too. And if I get stumped with a question, that gives me an excuse to go back and learn more information about the animals, and I'm always growing and always learning all the time. That anybody in the science field, zoology, biology, anything at all, like even mathematics, you're always learning all the time, and it's part of our drive to keep going every single day. So that is pretty cool. So thank you so much ahead of time. Well, let's go ahead and answer some of Ricky's examples. Sorry, I have a hair on my nose from an animal, of course. Here's one. It says, what's your most exotic animal you have? That's an interesting question because the word exotic really just means not from the country or place that you're living. So exotic would be any animals that don't come from the United States. In my case, I live in the United States in Texas. So any animals that don't come from the United States are considered an exotic to us. Animals that live in Africa are exotic to us. But if you live in Africa, an exotic would be something from the United States that doesn't come from Africa. Does that make sense? But however, a lot of people do ask this, and I think they're actually trying to ask what's the most interesting, exciting, unique animal that we have. I guess exotic now means unique to humans, but technically exotic just means from somewhere else. Like they don't live in your neck of the woods, so to speak. So I would say there's a lot of those, obviously, if we're being extremely literal with the meaning of exotic. There's so many animals that we have here at Once in a While that don't live natively to the United States. So, I mean, you're going to meet two of them tonight. Two of our reptiles are actually not native to the United States, and Blondie, the other animal, actually is native to the United States. So that's what that means. But as far as exotic, that's going to be a matter of opinion. So if you have never seen, let me think, if you've never seen a bearded dragon before, that might be exotic or exciting to you. You may have never seen it before. Today, I actually did a very special program for very, very, very small children, anywhere from newborns all the way up to 3 years old. And of course, their parents were there too. It wasn't just the kids by themselves. And we had some wonderful ladies who were organizing an event for those parents and little kids. And so a lot of the animals that we brought today, and I'll tell you which ones they were, we brought our giant rabbit, Sandor. We brought some tortoises, the red-footed tortoise crew, Shelton, Rocket, and Jet. And then we brought Debbie, the bearded dragon. And we also brought a little leopard gecko. What is her name? Oh, I almost said Felix, but I didn't bring Felix. I brought Fiona instead of Felix today because Felix is actually going into shed today. So we couldn't mess with him today. So Fiona is who got to go and just be on display there. So all of our animals were on the table there. And I mean, to those little kiddos, those are all pretty exotic. They probably have seen a bunny rabbit picture before, but those newborns probably haven't. So I would say out of that grouping, everybody was pretty into every animal, but I mean, the bunny was really popular. Of course, he always is because he's amazing. But our bearded dragon actually got a lot of attention as being like, ooh, what is that animal? I don't even know what that is. So to some people, and I take this for granted sometimes because I'm working with animals all the time. I work with lots and lots of wild animals, pet type animals, everything in between. So I'm used to them, but a lot of times what is really fun about our job is actually going to places where people have never seen XYZ animal. And they're just like, oh my gosh, I've never even touched a tortoise. I've never held a snake, and I've never seen a tarantula up close. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a matter of experience and opinion. But as far as our some of our more exciting animals to me, I mean, I love snakes, but not everybody does. But our owl is really popular. He's a very he's technically an exotic animal to the United States because Rango the owl is a Eurasian eagle owl. So that means that he is from Europe, Asia, and Africa. So he does not live here in the United States, but he does look like a great horned owl. So that is really cool because he reminds people of something that's familiar. Of course, people do recognize owls most of the time. Even little children recognize owls because of artwork, books, illustrations, movies, things like that. And that is always on our side when animals are recognizable. Even if they're scary animals, quote unquote, scary animals that make people scared, sometimes that is still something they recognize. It's harder to get people to appreciate and love animals if it's something they have no idea what it is. Their brain does not compute. They don't understand what the heck they're looking at. And that is, I mean, unless it's a really pretty something they're looking at, like a sea urchin or something like that. A lot of people don't know what a sea urchin or a sea anemone actually is. They're animals, they're not plants. But they look at them and they think, oh, what a pretty plant under the water. And that strikes their interest. What strikes their interest even more is going to be animals their brain says, I know what that is. For example, nowadays, the axolotl. The axolotl is probably arguably the rarest animal that we have in our collection here at Once in a While. It's one of our mascots. You see my shirt? Fiesta-lotl time. So axolotls are a type of salamander that is critically endangered in the wild, but now they're super popular because of social media pictures, because of zoos, and now because of Minecraft. That's right, a video game has made them popular. So now people know what they are. That oftentimes happens in cartoons too, or movies. If somebody, or maybe it's like super recent in somebody's brain, they go, oh, I like axolotls because I know what that is. So yeah. Ricky, I did an intro. Did you not see it? Did it not go through? I did the little Once in a Wild song at the beginning. I sure did. You may have missed it, but I sure did it. I have proof it'll be recorded after this, I think, or it'll at least be on YouTube. So as far as exotic, I mean, our owl has been really exciting to have. What else is exotic to people? I mean, a lot of our tarantulas are really exotic. Axolotls are, like I said, are probably the most rare, but also recognized nowadays. So that's always a matter of opinion. But I love to see what like the audience likes the most. For example, a really exciting animal that we have in our own backyard that we have here at Once in a While in our collection is the opossum. Opossums, a lot of times when you see them up close, you go, wow, they're really cool up close, but you didn't realize how cool they were because you take it for granted that they're in your backyard all the time. Same thing with an owl or really anything, a bat, anything that could be in your backyard right now. But exotic means it's not from where you live. That's what technically exotic means. And in the animal world, exotic can mean like it's non-domesticated. That's not technically the meaning of exotic, just if you didn't know that. But technically, like a rabbit, even though it's 100% domesticated pet nowadays, is considered an exotic over at the vet or as a pet. It's not a cat or a dog or a horse. So I guess it would be an exotic in that way, but it's really not. Some people just think that tigers are exotic, but a lot of animals are exotic. We do not have tigers here once in a while. Here's a frequent question that we get a lot. Is that snake poisonous? And let me go ahead and segue into our first animal friend, and his name is Logan. And I wanted to bring Logan because I was trying to think of which animals to bring, and this happens almost every live stream unless I just really have a theme that I wanted to do. Most of the time, guys, I'm extremely busy, and I'm deciding last minute what I'm going to do on the live stream if I happen to go live. So I hope that's okay with you. But Logan, our little snake friend who's coming out, he's so cute, by the way. If you don't like snakes, I'm so sorry for you. Snakes are my favorite animal, so you'll see a lot of snakes right here on Once in a Wild Wednesday, as well as all over Once in a Wild Instagram, everywhere. We love snakes. Snakes are our favorite. Well, they're my favorite anyway. I don't know about Ricky, but they are one of our favorites because they're so very misunderstood and they're wonderful animals, beautiful, lots of variety, very important animals. But Logan, the snake that's about to come out, he's so cute, you guys. He was about to shed, and he actually was having a little bit of a hard shed this time, which means his skin was not necessarily coming off all in one piece like it's supposed to with a snake. So I was helping him and assisting him to shed his not exoskeleton, his epidermal layer off, which is what reptiles do to grow and things. And that's what we're going to talk about today as well. So this is a great question that we often get about our beautiful snakes. So I'm going to take this away now. Ricky is reminding me that a lot of people do ask this. Is that snake poisonous? So believe it or not, there are very, very, very few snakes that are actually poisonous. Do you know what the difference is between poison and venom? Well, venom is injected either by fangs or by a stinger of a arachnid or by fangs of an arachnid sometimes, etc. Right? Venom can be delivered through injection. It goes into the bloodstream typically, and it's going to affect you internally because it was injected into your body. A poison is typically consumed by eating the poison. Maybe you ate a plant, or maybe you ate a frog that is poisonous. Yikes! Or it can be absorbed through your skin. So if you pick up a frog or another poisonous animal that has skin that has poisonous secretions or toxic glands on their body, then you can actually get affected on your skin too. So you can absorb it. Poison ivy is another example of a poison that if you touch, you will become affected by the poison by becoming very itchy, irritated, etc. Poison doesn't necessarily mean dead, right? Or deadly. Venom doesn't necessarily mean deadly to you. It could be toxic enough to kill another animal. It could be deadly enough to kill a smaller animal or a bigger animal or whatever it may be. So most snakes in the world, there's only a couple of them that are actually poisonous, and it's really rare that they even become poisonous. It has to do with what they eat, and then something eats them, and then that something that ate them, the predator or whoever it was, will become poisoned by eating the snake. That's what poison is. Snakes have venom instead sometimes. Of course, this type of snake right here, I'm holding it, so that should give you the first clue. With my bare hand, you should not hold venomous snakes with your bare hand, and I would never do that in front of you guys. So we're not going to do that. We actually don't condone bare-handed venomous snake handling. Some herpetologists and some reptile enthusiasts do feel comfortable enough and advocate for handling venomous snakes with their bare hands. I do not recommend that at all. That is on them if they want to take that risk and things like that. You should never do that. In fact, if you see a snake in your own backyard or camping or when you're traveling, especially traveling, if you don't happen to be in your same country, do not pick up a snake if you don't know what you're doing. Please don't pretend to know what you're doing. It can be very, very dangerous because some snakes are venomous. Some snakes require venom in order to disable their prey from running away, and also that helps to pre-digest their food, because a snake, after all, of course, is a carnivore. They don't eat salad or fruits and vegetables. They eat other animals that are trying to get away or that are running by. And so they need to incapacitate that animal. It's usually a mammal or a bird, but some snakes eat other reptiles too, and all sorts of things, eggs. But if it's a running away type animal, they need to make sure it doesn't get away, so they can't eat that day. Snakes don't eat every day. They often will eat once a week or maybe even once a month, depending on the species. And the smaller they are, the more often they will actually eat, because they're growing a lot more often. But the bigger they are, the longer they can go in between meals, and often go a month or two without eating with very little consequence in the wild. Now, we try to be nice to our snakes in human care, and Logan here is a baby, by the way. He's a Woma python, which is a species found in Australia, and they're actually a endangered species in Australia, by the way. Kind of sad, but they are doing pretty well in human care, so we will always have them as long as we have them in human care. But these guys are very small at this age. He's a baby. That's what I'm trying to say. They actually get quite a lot bigger. He is going to be around, I would say, a 6 to 8 foot snake at maximum. Males are often smaller than females when it comes to being a python. Pythons, typically females are bigger because females do lay a lot of eggs and need to be able to survive after laying the egg. But since he's a male, I would say 6 to 7 foot range, but they're not a very thick python. They're actually very, very thin, and more like a king snake in appearance, as far as their slenderness. But they're super cool. But I digress. Let's talk about more venom stuff. So this snake, non-venomous, is a python. So that means that they are going to squeeze their food instead of using that venom. So some snakes have venom glands in their mouth, right, in their head, and they have fangs, which when the glands secrete into the fangs are like needles and they're hollow, and they're gonna bite the prey. And usually a venomous snake will bite and let go and let the venom take effect. And then once that prey is no longer moving and no longer with us, RIP, that snake will slither over and go ahead and consume that prey. But that's the whole point of having the venom. It's not really that much for defense, although it's a great defense as well. And it's a great defense, especially when you have a reputation for being dangerous, then animals automatically just leave you alone. But most of the time, a snake does not want to waste their venom on you. If they are venomous, they would rather keep it to themselves because it's not limitless. It's not without its limit. So these guys can actually use all their venom on you on accident by defending themselves, and then they won't have any venom to either defend themselves later or eat their next meal if it happens to wander by and they're hungry. So they usually don't want to waste it on you. Most of the time, snakes, number one, are going to try to get away or stay very, very still so you don't see them at all. Venomous snakes are not our enemies. They're actually our friends. They do us a lot of good by eating rodents and other animals that can be harmful to humans, but they get a really bad reputation because humans mess with animals, or they accidentally step over an animal that doesn't understand why the human is there, and they're terrified. So that is why people get bitten. It's usually on accident. So they're just reacting, they're scared. But if you see a snake, please leave it alone, and it will leave you alone too most of the time. 99 times out of 100, a snake will just leave you alone if you leave it alone. The best way to get bitten by any snake or any wild animal is by picking it up and messing with it, or by trying to harm it. If you go over and try to harm a snake by, heaven forbid, chopping it up with a tool, or trying to smash the snake, or trying to shoot it, whatever you're doing, you're putting yourself in closer proximity to the snake itself, and you're gonna get more likely bitten than if you just walked away and left it alone. And usually a snake, once it realizes that there's scary humans around, they'll try to find a new place to live. Snakes will usually try to get away, hide and stay still, or they'll warn you. A really famous snake that warns before it bites is the rattlesnake. Rattlesnakes are wonderful at warning you where they are. They start rattling, and you should then back away and get away. Also, other snakes will give you tons of warnings before biting. It's usually very rare that they will just try to bite immediately. They might do like a mock biting where they kind of like and kind of like bounce their body near you, but they won't actually try to strike unless they really have to. So some snakes will kind of make an S with their body and show their belly. Maybe their belly has a bright color or some sort of pattern that's a warning. Maybe they will puff up their body and look really scary. Some snakes even kind of hide and put their head underneath their body and like, oh, please don't harm me. They're scared. So that's usually the reason why any wild animal would want to harm you or try to defend itself, of course, is that they're scared that you're going to harm them. So the best thing to do is to not harm them. That is my long-winded answer to, is that snake poisonous? Most snakes are not poisonous. Some snakes are venomous, but if you see them being handled in an animal program, most likely they're not poisonous or venomous. They're actually harmless. Most snakes that we encounter well, of course, certainly animal programs and shows like we do, most snakes that we encounter in the wild too, in your backyard, wherever, are harmless to humans. And every snake is harmless if you leave it alone. Okay? So it's not usually something to worry about, especially when you see a snake being presented like by us at Once in a Wild or another mobile zoo or any animal show. We're not going to bring a harmful animal and try to throw it on you. We're not going to scare you on purpose. We're not, that's not our message. So our message is actually to do the opposite. We're trying to make you guys more comfortable with these wonderful animals, and that way you will appreciate them. That doesn't mean we go pick them up and squeeze them because we love them so much in the wild. We don't do that. We respect them and give them their space because we don't know them. And it's just like if you walk up to a cat or a dog that you do not know, we don't want to approach them and touch them unless we know it's okay. So if you have a dog on a leash that's walking around your neighborhood with the owner attached to it, and you just go up and like give that dog a hug and a kiss, may not go very well unless you have permission, unless the owner says, yes, I mean, our dog is really friendly with children, adults, whatever. But even then, you're taking a little bit of a risk, right? So trust me, we're not going to bring any venomous snakes to our shows and hold them with our bare hands. You don't have to worry about that. Most snakes are harmless. Snakes are our friends and are wonderful. Did you guys not see the intro? Now I'm a little worried. You let me know. We can look back at the recording later, I guess. I'm not holding my hand like, hey, I'm just trying to show Logan our beautiful Woma python. And the Woma python, by the way, is a native of Australia, if I didn't say that already. They are an endangered species now, unfortunately, mostly due to habitat loss, climate change, losing their food items, things like that. The typical stuff that happens when humans move into the territory of animals. These guys are awesome. They're one of my favorite species of snake on the planet, and this is a little baby one. He is, how old are you now, Logan? I can't remember how old you are. We've had him since he was pretty tiny, and he's grown. He's had a few shed cycles to grow, which is our main topic today, which I will not forget to talk about before I put away the snake. Hello, hello. How are you guys doing? Oh, you guys are wonderful. Thank you for commenting. Okay, if you guys have any questions at all. Oh, here's another really good question. Having Ricky remind me of some of the FAQs that we get because we're talking about frequently asked questions about our snakes and any animals. By the way, look at his beautiful orange belly. Isn't he gorgeous? They have a solid orange head, beautiful black eyes, and, well, kind of dark brown eyes, I should say. And these gorgeous eyebrow markings, which are right above the eyes. And those actually act like kind of like pseudo sunglasses. His eyes are already dark, which helps. But this is kind of like a more desert, scrub, dry region of Australia type animal. So if they do come out during the day, which is rare, they're typically a nocturnal animal. But if they do, kind of pop their head out during the day, maybe they want to hunt or get around, that's going to help them with a little bit of sunglasses for the sun because they're a very, very bright desert type animal. And they're just gorgeous. Their belly is like kind of matching their head. So they have this striped, banded pattern to stay nice and hidden in the natural world. They look like grass or like shadows and things like that. And their head is kind of an orange. And then the belly is also matching their head. Isn't that beautiful? They're just gorgeous. They're one of the softest types of snakes in all of the animal kingdom. But my favorite thing about them is not only their appearance and their softness, but also their personality. These guys are wonderful animals for handling. Even in the wild, I don't recommend this, Australians out there, but even in the wild, these guys tend to be very passive animals. They're not an aggressive type of snake towards humans or really much of anything other than their food. And as far as their food goes, they do, of course, eat rodents. They eat birds if they can catch them. And they can also eat other reptiles like lizards. Okay. Oh, here we go. I don't know why you just didn't say it. Is that animal sedated? Well, sometimes we bring animals that are really well behaved or very used to people, and a lot of people cannot believe it. They don't believe that the animal is just well trained or well suited for the job. They think that maybe we have sedated the animal. And I've actually gotten this question for not just Once in a Wild animals, but I have actually worked at several other animal facilities, zoos, aquariums, things like that. And a lot of people wonder, oh my gosh, those animals, they're just hanging out and laying down. They're not doing much. They're not running laps 24/7. So they must be sedated, right? No, they're not. They wouldn't be sedated unless they were going in for a medical procedure, a surgery, or some sort of exam where we have to sedate them because they're a dangerous animal. For example, a lion. If they are going in for a medical examination, we can't necessarily be safe if we're doing a full procedure, dental exam, head to toe, everything. We have to take them to the actual veterinarian, or maybe the veterinarian comes to the lion's location, depending on the zoo and facility, right? Some zoos and facilities have um, capable vehicles that can take the animals to the vet, and some are the opposite, where the vet will come to them. If it's an elephant, same thing. They can't really, take the elephant into the hospital every time, right? They come to the elephant. But not necessarily for an elephant, because elephants are very, very trainable. However, it might be necessary sometimes to sedate an elephant, right? For some sort of surgery or very, very thorough medical exam or something like that. But usually elephants are very trainable. So, but like a lion, a tiger, a gorilla, things like that. Those are also very trainable animals. Any animal can be trained to some capacity, but for the safety of the humans and the safety of the animal, we actually do often sedate those animals for examination. Usually a light sedation, sometimes it's a heavy sedation or an anesthesia. If they're having maybe a teeth cleaning or something like that, just like on your cats and dogs at home. Typically, when cats and dogs have a tooth cleaning, they actually do knock them out for with anesthesia to make sure and do all of that very thoroughly. They have to pull a tooth, something like that. It's for everybody's benefit. Other than that, we're not sedating our animals most of the time. Now, I'm sure there's some exceptions, maybe some light medication, things like that. Absolutely not. Number one, it's really expensive, especially for the larger animals, to have that sort of medication to subdue the animal and have enough medication to actually last, and to do it every day. That would be insanely expensive. If you think about a zoo, zoos are usually either nonprofits or for-profits that are completely reliant on ticket sales and costs, and all sorts of things that they're relying on your money. They're not making a ton of money. Just so you know, most zoos, what they spend their money on is going to be payroll to pay all of their sometimes hundreds of staff members, depending on the facility, right? They're going to spend a lot of money there. They're going to spend a ton of money on water bills, electric bills. What else? Food, of course, food. But you would think food would be the most expensive. It's not. It's going to be things like bills, rent, even sometimes. Maybe building new enclosures and building new pathways and all sorts of construction that they have to do. All that's super expensive, and zoos aren't making a ton of money that they just pocket, haha. So they certainly don't have extra money to just sedate their animals. It's not really a thing. It doesn't really happen that often unless it's absolutely necessary, like for medical purposes or XYZ. So I'm not saying never, ever, ever, but come on, no. And in particular, our animal that gets asked, or that gets inquired about, I guess, is our rabbit. The Flemish giant rabbit, Sandor, is just a really awesome rabbit. So what I mean is he will actually go to lots of appearances, presentations, and we have figured out the best way to present him is just by giving him a really comfortable pillow or mat on top of a table, and he will literally just lay there. And he will let people come and pet him because he is wonderful and great with people of all ages. Little teeny tiny kiddos were trying to love on him and kissing him and hugging him. He didn't even care. He was just like a great animal. Not every animal is like that. So I think what people are used to when they see a rabbit is a skittish animal, maybe even aggressive sometimes, maybe running around, nervous, things like that. Sandor's not like that most of the time. So if he ever lets us know that he's not doing well and he wants to go back into his kennel and take a break, that's fine on a presentation. But he almost never does that. In fact, he'd rather be out of the kennel, getting love, getting snacks, things like that. And in fact, he prefers his reinforcer to be love other than snacks, because we've actually tried treats and things like that, but he gets over that pretty fast. And if we're doing an hour-long presentation or more, he'd rather just lay on the table and get pets. He's just a wonderful animal. But I don't think people are necessarily, number one, expecting a rabbit to be trainable like that, or expecting a rabbit to have that good of a nature, I guess. And he is a Flemish giant rabbit, and Flemish giants are known for their passive personalities. They're very sweet. They're one of, in my opinion, the best pet rabbits you can have. They're just very tolerant of all ages. They actually like attention from humans. So honestly, that's him. So he's not sedated. Don't worry, we don't sedate our animals. We would never do that unless they needed a medical procedure or something like that. And most facilities do not do that either. That is a great question. Give me some more, Ricky. We got to talk about some more. So let's talk about the topic that I kind of titled our presentation today, or our live stream today, is going to be, why do cold-blooded animals shed their skin? Well, a snake is one of the most famous type of animals that shed their skin. And like I said before, the reason that I decided to invite our beautiful Woma Python Logan onto the channel, onto the show program today, whatever it is, the thing. You want to be on the thing? Yay. He's like, sure. So he was in shed, and I was actually helping him. He had shed from about his face all the way up to here. He was done shedding, but then for whatever reason, all the rest of it got stuck. So what we did was we actually let him hang out in a little bit of water in a safe container, a little bit of lukewarm room temperature water just to kind of soak in, have a little bath, if you will. And that usually does the job to help snakes shed, but he still needed a little bit more help. So I was helping him shed, and I was like, you know what? He's so beautiful today, and he's grown a little bit since last time he was on the show. So I figure, why not Logan? And then we'll talk about how snakes shed and how other animals shed, because we got another really cool shed that I'm going to show very last, and talk about that. And you're going to love it, I promise. Maybe not everyone, but some people will really like it. So stay tuned till the very end. But let's talk about how cold-blooded animals have to shed their skin. Now, they have to because they're not built the same as us. So we're actually always shedding our skin flakes all the time. We're shedding lots of hair. We're shedding lots of microscopic flecks everywhere. Super gross. But we don't really think about it because it's not like in one big piece like a gecko, a snake, or a lizard in general would do, or a tortoise, or even a crocodile would shed in flakes. And it's like really obvious. It's like the whole epidermal layer, the whole level layer, tomato. So yeah, so they actually do that in order to grow. Number one, that top layer of skin does not grow with them. And that's an adaptation that they've evolved to have for a few really fun reasons. There's some benefits to just shedding off a whole either exoskeleton if you're an invertebrate, or your skin flakes, or your whole shed. And there are a few, like I said, benefits to that. So number one is going to be healing power. So since a snake can basically start anew every single month, snakes typically shed once a month, maybe a little less the older they get, but it's pretty regular, to be honest with you. Typically they'll go into a shed cycle, they'll shed their skin, and then they'll want to eat fairly soon after. Maybe we'll feed him in the next couple days, and after they eat, their body will start digesting, and their body says, ooh, it's time to grow a little bit more. As a reptile, they never stop growing, but it's much more gradual the bigger they get and the more sexually mature they are. So they will kind of slow that a lot. But as they're babies, they want to eat and grow, because the smaller you are as any animal, the more vulnerable you are to predators, to being eaten by stuff, right? So if you need to grow up quicker, you need to eat more as a reptile and get lots and lots of warmth. That way you can digest your food, and then the body goes right back into that cycle. So as a baby snake, he's going to shed a lot more often, about once a month. And then older snakes, I would say every 6 to 8 weeks tops, and it's still fairly similar to that cycle. So that's that one benefit, is healing. So if they have like maybe a cut or a wound on their skin, not necessarily like losing their entire tail or losing an eyeball or something like that, but if they get a cut from their prey as they're hunting, maybe this constrictor here has squeezed a bird and the bird is kicking and screaming and trying to get away, maybe they got some scratches or some wounds that way. Well, the next shed cycle, when they shed that entire epidermal layer, there we go, they will actually heal as they shed. So that first shed, they're going to heal quite a bit, and the second shed even more, and then before you know it, you may not even see that scratch anymore. They have amazing healing powers. Not as impressive as the old friend the axolotl, but nobody is. They're the most impressive healers in the animal kingdom as far as I know. But also another added benefit of shedding an entire layer like that is going to be getting rid of parasites. So in the wild, they do tend to have some external parasites like ticks and other blood-sucking bugs that can harm them. And by getting rid of that entire shed, if you will, and I'm going to show you an example of a shed here in a minute. Don't stay tuned. But do stay tuned. But that is going to actually get rid of external parasites as well. So those are the main benefits of doing it that way, as opposed to flaking off skin flakes all the time like we mammals do. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. You guys are being a nice, polite, quiet audience tonight. I know you have a life outside of Once in a Wild, and I can talk for ages anyway, so I don't mind. but you let me know. But that is one or two reasons why they shed. And a reptile has to shed its entire life as they grow up and as they keep on living. So the longer they live, the more they will grow little by little. And like a large, maybe like a reticulated python can, they keep on living, they can grow really big. And that's one of those snakes that actually has the capacity to grow very large. And most snakes, they pass away before they grow super large, but some of them keep on living and they keep on growing, if that makes sense. Tortoises, for example, some of the longer lived and bigger tortoises, they get giant, right? That's pretty cool. So oh my goodness, I almost called you the old name. Logan is a beautiful Woma python, is what I almost said. And he is just wonderful. You can see how sweet he is. Snakes really don't have any reason to harm humans as long as they're used to humans. They know that we're not dangerous to them. I'm not hurting him in any way. And I don't have any food in my hands. I don't smell like food. And his food, of course, is other animals. So before handling snakes, you want to wash your hands or hand sanitize. And that's actually going to give you a little bit more of less chance of getting bitten in any capacity. Some snakes may still try to see if you're food every now and then. That does happen sometimes. And some snakes are just really scared of humans and they're maybe not used to humans, just like cats and dogs have their own personalities and even humans have their own personalities. Some humans are very social and great with other humans and some just aren't, and everything in between. So Logan, as a Woma python, he's a very gentle and sweet snake. If you would love to meet him sometime, you let me know. I think I'm going to let him go rest while I show you an example of a snake shed. But let me know what you think about Logan and any snakes. And we have several snakes in our collection. Like I mentioned before, they are one of our favorites because they're very misunderstood. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to educate about. And a lot of people do encounter a snake at some point in their life, maybe a negative experience, but we'd like to give them a positive experience. We also offer animal therapy. Which doesn't just include like, oh, let's pet the rabbit. That's great too. But we also provide animal exposure therapy, which sounds a little weird, but that is actually exposing you to your fears/phobias. And that can help you to get rid of your fears of snakes if you happen to have one. We will bring a very, very sweet, nice, slow-moving snake. It's usually a ball python to introduce you guys to snakes and a nice safe experience with one. That could start by just having a snake in the same room as you, maybe not even out of its enclosure. You might be just comfortable with that the first session. Maybe the snake is in some sort of container and you're like, that's enough. You tell us. Everything is super custom. But you might be comfortable the next time or even in the same session with us removing the snake from its enclosure and just holding it kind of in the same room, maybe just sitting down across the room. Maybe talking about the snake, teaching you about it. You can see how sweet they are with us and how harmless they are with us. Even if the snake bit somebody, it would be almost nothing. These guys don't have any fangs. They do have teeth, but their teeth are like sticky, almost like Velcro. So it might produce a little bit of blood, but you'll be fine. I can think of a million worse bites than a snake. Snakes are very, very misunderstood, like I keep saying over and over, but it's just not fair. Snakes in general really aren't harmful at all to humans. And they're very beneficial by eating lots and lots of rodents and stuff for us. Now, if you're not from Australia, you won't see this animal in your own backyard, but you might see other snakes in your own backyard. And the best thing to do is just leave them be and let them do their job and let them live where they live. Most of the time, they'll just leave if they know a human's there. Okay, I will go ahead and let Logan rest, and we will show you a snake shed. How about that? Now, I mentioned that Logan had shed today, but he needed some help shedding, and it wasn't a very complete or pretty shed. So I guess he's just going to be one of those kind of snakes where we have to help him out a little bit. He may grow out of that. Sometimes snakes, if their humidity is incorrect, or even if their humidity is correct, because they need some humidity to go ahead and remove that skin themselves, it comes off like an inside out sock is how they start at the face and then comes out inside out, comes off inside out. And sometimes if the humidity is a little bit dry, there's no humidity, etc. Sometimes they have trouble, and sometimes some snakes, you can get everything right and they still have trouble. So he might just be one of those where we have to help him out every now and then, and that is okay because he lives with us. He doesn't have to worry about not having help. And luckily, I've worked with a few snakes in my life, so I do know what I'm doing. Okay, so this is a really cool shed. It's basically a perfect shed, except for the tail tip came off, but that was not when it was actually new. That happened later. So this is actually a shed from our Chinese beauty snake who recently shed a few weeks ago. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, actually. And he sheds real well. You can see it over on Instagram, really long. His name is Long, and he is a Chinese beauty snake. Long means dragon in Mandarin. But you can see It's like another snake almost. And it's not the same color as the animal. This snake is actually kind of green, black, yellow, all sorts of pretty colors, different markings. You can see some of the markings on the shed because you'll see the scales, but this is only the out how do I say that? The outer epidermal layer of skin that happens to flake off essentially all in one piece. And they go through their entire shed cycle all in one external layer, which is really cool for a snake. I wish we could just do that. Although I might lose my tattoos, right? If I change my skin every time. So maybe I don't want that. They're not like that. If they get a tattoo, it might go away. But you can even see, if I make sure I'm focused properly right here, you can even see where the snake's head was right here. Remember, it's inside out. But a snake actually doesn't blink because they have eye caps over their eyes, which we call spectacle scales. It's like having goggles on or glasses on all the time. There we go. They're inside out there, but you can even see the eyes. How cool is that? Can you guys see it here? And then, of course, inside out. So this would have been the top here. You know what I mean by inside out, right? Of course, when you take a sock off, you can take it off from the toe and pull so it doesn't go inside out, or you can just do what everybody does and turn your sock inside out before you wash it or whatever. And you can even see, okay, so we have the top of the snake, which is the dorsal of the snake. Any animal's kind of back is a dorsal, and the ventral is the belly. So you'll notice the scales, if you can see properly here, the scales on the belly here are actually totally different and very uniform all the way down the belly. You see that? Isn't that cool? All the way down. Those are called scutes. Tortoises also have scutes, but that's different. These are called scutes, but they're also called ventral scales. Ventral is their belly. That's what they crawl on. They don't have arms and legs, so they have to have something to kind of grip the side of a tree, the side of a rock, the ground, whatever they're slithering along. So that is called the ventral. Those are their ventral scales. They kind of look like the shingles on a house, right? Very uniform, very large compared to the other side, which is very, very also uniform, but in a different way, right? They're tiny. That's what we think of as scales. And then look at that, totally different. But you can see basically the entire snake, the outer layer just came off. So again, added benefits of shedding like this instead of shedding like we do, which is lame. Shedding like this, you can heal really fast. You can get rid of external parasites. Those are the main two benefits. I'm sure there's others that I have talked about before, but I just forget off the top of my head. And they do have to shed in order to grow. That is something that most, if not all, of your cold-blooded or ectothermic animals, we're endothermic. We have our own body temperature as a mammal. Birds are like that too, to where we produce our own body temperature and we stay the same pretty much all the time, consistent temperature. These guys don't. They actually grow and digest and just live very differently than us. They don't have their own body temperature. They take on whatever temperature is in the room, in outside where they are in the sun or in the water or in the shade, and they have to actually kind of think about where to go to digest. Do I go in the sun and get some heat? Do I go back in the shade when I get too hot? They have to keep on regulating their temperature, and they do never stop growing as a cold-blooded animal too. And in order to grow, they have to shed their outer layer of skin. Isn't that awesome? That's one way to see if you have snakes in your area. Not to creep you out, excuse me, but if you have a snake shed in your area like that, guaranteed that you have a snake somewhere in your area too. So let us move on to our second animal, which happens to be another type of reptile. And I'll talk about some more frequently asked questions as we talk about him. This type of reptile is a lizard. His name is Thanos. And I bet you're going to know what kind of lizard it is once I bring him out. Very popular type of lizard. The species may not be known to everybody, but the type of lizard is very, very famous. So I don't think you're going to have trouble recognizing him. Remember, we talked about how animals are recognizable and how that actually helps us to present those animals. And most people, not everybody, but most people know exactly what kind of lizard this happens to be. Oh my gosh, what the heck is this? He is beautiful, isn't he? His name is Thanos. He is quite the cranky man, usually. He doesn't appreciate company. They are a solitary type of lizard. This, of course, is a chameleon. He's a chameleon, and he's a panther chameleon. Panther chameleons come in different varieties. He is actually an Mbanja panther chameleon. All panther chameleons, not all chameleons, but all panther chameleons, which there are many types, like I mentioned, they come from Madagascar. So that's where you're going to find this guy as well, of course, in the wild. So this is another exotic animal to us in the States. We're not going to have panther chameleons here in the US. Trying to make sure you guys can see him and see me at the same time, and Instagram can see him at the same time. He's puffing up his chin, which also reminds me of Thanos' chin. Another reason for his name. Also, Thanos really prefers to be all by himself, doesn't he? Also, this guy used to be purple. He was mostly purple, and now he's mostly blue. Now you can see him changing colors right before your eyes. He is a chameleon after all, and they can, of course, change colors. But did you know that it is not to blend into stuff? He will change colors to show how he's feeling, which I'm sure is pretty irritated right now. We'll keep it brief with Thanos. He doesn't really care for being held and handled and talked about. But he's going to show you how he feels, his mood swings, his mood in general by the color of his skin, the pattern on his body. And also, he's going to be able to talk to other chameleons that way. Chameleons do not have ears externally, so they really don't use their voices, do they? They might hiss a little bit, that's about it. But when they hiss, it's more about the body language. They're showing their teeth, and they're going to express themselves that way, as opposed to noises. They don't really hear. So instead of talking to each other that way, they talk to each other with skin color changes or body language, right? He's kind of like puffed up, trying to blend in a way by looking like a leaf, but the color change isn't necessarily to blend into stuff. Otherwise, he'd be purple, right? Or brown because he's hanging out on this branch and there's a purple backdrop, but he is not purple or brown. He's still kind of like a grayish blue. Different platforms show different light and show different colors on Thanos. If you go over to Instagram, you can see a really cool version of Thanos. I'm gonna bring him in closer to you guys. Oh my goodness, he is so pretty over there. And just by positioning himself like this and having some stripes, which by the way is where panther chameleon comes from. Panther meaning like cat-like. They also do stalk their prey, but I don't know why it wasn't tiger chameleon because they do have stripes and panthers don't really have stripes, do they? Oh well, I didn't name them. Don't blame me. But that is where that comes from. Oh my gosh, Thanos, it is okay. He just opened up his mouth. Now, Thanos is just kind of a skittish kind of chameleon. Every panther chameleon has their own personality, and we got to know pretty fast when we obtained Thanos that he was kind of a grumpy guy. So that's really why we call him Thanos. But chameleons will change their color to express themselves, and they also change their color to regulate their body temperature, like we mentioned before. Snakes don't really change their color. There's a few snakes that do a little bit of color change, but that's super rare in the snake world. In the lizard world, that's really, really common. A lot of lizards change color, maybe not as demonstratively as a chameleon, right? Chameleons are the most famous for like changing all kinds of crazy colors. Not every chameleon can just change whatever color. That's false. Totally false. The myth. I get that question a lot about Thanos. So frequently asked question, can he change color? Can he change purple? Can he change pink? Whatever. No, he cannot. He's limited on his color choices and abilities. But one reason that they change color is to communicate, like I said, change your temperature. That's what I was talking about, not to blend into stuff. So he could turn darker either to say, I'm in a shooty mood. It's family friendly, Amanda. He's in a bad mood. So he could do that. You can laugh at me all you want, Ricky. He could do that, or he could be in a better mood and maybe lighten up his body or something like that. But also he could darken up his body in order to get more heat, because that will help him to get darker, you guys, to get darker to absorb more sun. That's what I'm trying to say. So that would help him to warm up his body, just like the lights are warming me up right now and I'm getting nervous. But these guys, when they feel too hot, they lighten their body. And then they will, he's probably like two different colors. Oh my gosh, he's so cranky. They will actually lighten their body. Oh my gosh, he's so pretty, you guys. I get so distracted. And that will help reflect the sun and cool him off. I hope that makes sense. So cooler, if he wants to be cooler, he's going to lighten his body. And if he wants to be warmer, he's going to darken his body. But that also might mean he's in a crappy mood, if you know what I mean. Yes. Yes, Thanos. He's always in a crappy mood when humans are around. He's not a big fan of humans. Humans are a little bit scary to him. And I understand. We're big and we're scary and we say crazy things. Yes, yes, yes. Stare? Who is staring? Me? Oh my goodness. Yes, we got to keep it family friendly. Sorry about that. Definitely not going to address comments that aren't family friendly. Okay. But anyway, so these guys do have to also shed their skin too. They are going to shed in flakes. They're not going to shed all in one piece, but there are actually a few lizards that do shed in one piece, and they happen to be geckos. Most of the geckos do that. Trying to think if there's any more. Oh my gosh, guys. I'm just trying to turn you around. I don't know if there's any more. Look at him. Wow, that's cool. Any more lizard groupings or types that actually shed all in one piece. And even a gecko, it's not going to be quite like a snake, right? They're not going to be like all streamlined because they have arms and legs and, more complicated body parts than a snake. A snake is very, very streamlined. So they're going to be able to shed all in one kind of solitary sock-like piece. Say that 5 times fast. Thanos, you are okay. I know it's been a minute since you've been on the show. You're absolutely beautiful. Why can't you just love me back? I love you, but you don't love me. Oh well, sometimes life be like that, huh? Here, I'm gonna back him up so you guys can see him a little bit better. He is so cool. Now, panther chameleons and most chameleons in general are solitary animals. They don't really appreciate company of any type, which is another reason for the name Thanos, right? What kind of questions do we get about chameleons? How long do they live? How long do they live is a question I get very frequently about almost every animal that we do present or talk about. They are going to not live very long in this case, but every animal species, of course, has their own life expectancy or lifespan. By the way, the difference between lifespan and life expectancy is lifespan is like the limit, what am I trying to say? The record. Lifespan for a human can be like 110 or more, but that's not usually our life expectancy, is it? Usually life expectancy for a human, I would say, is like 70s or 80s, maybe 90s, maybe 100, sometimes depending on the person, depending on your health, depending on your genetics, right? Same thing with animals. You can say, oh, this animal can live this long, and it could, but usually that's not going to be the case. It's not really going to be the expectancy. When we talk about life expectancy for the chameleon, in the wild, they're usually going to make it to about 2 or 3. That is a very short life expectancy in the wild. In human care, if they make it to 5 to 7, that's a nice long life for this species. And I know that's kind of sad. They don't really live very long at all. They grow pretty fast. They last for a little while. They're beautiful while they're here. And they, of course, in the wild, they're going to make more babies and things like that. And that's really it. And they're just kind of gone. That is very sad. So my least favorite fact about this species, but a lot of other species of reptiles live a long time, such as the tortoises, right? Most tortoises live a long, long time. Shelton and our other red-footed tortoises, they can be 60 or 70 years old sometimes. 65, I would say, is a nice long, long lifespan of that animal. And life expectancy, I would say 60, maybe a little less. So we do our very best. Opossums are another very short-lived animal, right? Opossums, like the Virginia opossum that we have here in your own backyard sometimes. We have 2 opossums here in Once in a Wild. We have Alice and Cooper, that's their name. And they're beautiful, but they're about a year old already, which is starting to become middle-aged for an opossum. So an opossum is only expected to live for about 2 years in the wild, maximum, and for about maybe 4 in human care. Sometimes they can make it to 5, but that's like the record for an opossum, and they would be super old and probably very, very immobile and not the healthiest at that point, right? And whatnot. But yeah, so it just kind of depends on the animal. Some animals live a long time. Some animals live kind of a medium span of time, and it's all relative, isn't it? So every animal, to them, that may not be that long. A lot of insects don't. Or may not be that short. A lot of insects don't live very long. Insects in general have like a lifespan or a life expectancy of mere weeks, months. But the Madagascar hissing cockroaches that we have, that are our only type of insect that we currently have, those guys can live for like 5 years maximum. So that's a lot different than a matter of months or weeks, right? It just kind of depends. Yes, yes, yes. So again, this is Thanos. If you're just joining us, Thanos is a panther chameleon. He's actually an Mbanja panther chameleon. There are other types of panther chameleon, including the Mbolomi and the nosy bay, and all sorts of really cool ones to look up and learn about. Look up panther chameleon subspecies or species, whatever you want to say. And they're all over Madagascar. Depending on where they're from in Madagascar, they're going to have a different color pattern. And every single individual panther chameleon is going to look different. I believe this guy's dad was really blue like him, but when we got Venomous, this panther chameleon, he was actually, and I'm not dropping him, I'm just trying to twist his branch here, by the way. He is fine. It looks really awkward on camera, but I'm just turning him around. Oh my gosh, he's so pretty. So sassy. Looks like he's gonna eat my face. Don't eat my face. I need the face. It's my moneymaker. I'm just kidding. Don't eat my eyes, Thanos. I'm behind him. But oh my gosh, you're so sassy. You don't have to be so scared. Do you see the ridge on his belly here and the ridge on his back? Those are to make him look like a leaf. So just by having this position that he's holding, by having kind of a pointy nose and the markings on his body, and then the lateral line that he has, which is the kind of whitish, light bluish line all the way down the center of him, he looks like a leaf, doesn't he? If you saw this from far away, I'm gonna focus back. I need autofocus, you guys. You may not even see this animal in the trees. They're covered by the shadows of the leaves and the trees and all the things. He's so blue on Instagram, you guys. He's blue over here too, but in a different light. Looks different. So cool. Now, how do they change color? That's another question we get sometimes. Maybe not as frequent as do they change color or why, but how is going to be through special properties in their skin, which are called chromatophores. And underneath the chromatophores, we have iridophores, which are like where the color is and different reflective properties and things like that. For example, other animals have them too, not just lizards. We have animals like squid and octopus, which have chromatophores and iridophores for changing color. But basically what a chromatophore is, Thanos, go with the moving tree movement, Thanos. Did you know that's why a chameleon actually walks like this? Can you see me? They kind of rock back and forth when they walk, is to mimic the movement of the trees. That way they can stalk their prey and also hide from enemy. But anyway, so these guys, I lost my train of thought again. It'll come back to me. Coming back around, here comes that train. We're talking about chromatophores and iridophores. So what chromatophores are, how they change color, they're basically like tiny little pores in their skin. Now, reptiles have scales as well, right? They have all these, let's go real close. Oh my goodness. They have scales all over their body. His scales are really, really tiny, right? All these little bumps are his scales. But in his skin as well, he has little holes, which are almost microscopic, and they pretty much are, like pores in his skin. But instead of sweating through pores, like mammals do and things, like we do, we sweat. The older you get, the more you sweat, right? And the more worried you are, the more you sweat. But that's what we do with our pores. We don't change colors like he does. But that's how they're going to change colors. Those little holes will open up and close. Open up and close. And that will form little patterns and different colors on his skin to where visually for us, it looks like he's changing colors. Cool. And visually for them too. Speaking of visually, this is one of the best seeing animals in all the animal kingdom. Remember, he doesn't have any ears. Snakes don't have any ears either. Fun fact. But snakes don't really gravitate towards vision. Instead of having good vision, a snake has a great sense of smell. This guy has a slight sense of smell, but their best sense is their vision. So a chameleon's eyes are independently moving. They have big googly eyes, which can independently move from here to there. That means one eye can do whatever it wants and the other eye can do whatever it wants. And inside their brain, their field of vision is two pictures. When they want to see something straight ahead, like a bug, let's see if we can do it. He's looking at me too much. Don't look at me, Thanos. If he sees a bug straight ahead, which I'm not going to feed him one because he will not eat on camera. I've already tried it. He will point his eyes straight ahead. Oh, he's going to get me. I know he is. He's going to point his eyes straight ahead and look binocularly, like most predators do, to fix his eyesight on the bug. And you guys know also how he would grab the bug. It's not with his hands and it's not with his mouth. Eventually it's going to get to the mouth, but how he initially snags the bug is going to be with that amazing tongue that chameleons have. All the different species of chameleon have an amazing tongue, which can stretch as long as the tip of their nose to the tip of their tail. That is their range. As they get older, their tongue has the capacity to stretch further, and they can reach out and snag that bug in almost an instantaneous movement. And that will help very, very well if you happen to be a sneaky animal in the trees, trying to sneak up on a bug that might, of course, fly away, crawl away, or hop away. It helps to be fast and unseen. Pretty cool, huh? So those are some of the most common questions we get about our chameleons specifically, but we do get a lot of reptile questions like, why do they shed their skin? And do they shed their skin? What's another common reptile question? Which reptiles make the best pets? That's probably one of the most common questions that we get during presentations is, can I have it for a pet? Is it a legal pet? Is it not a legal pet? Most of the animals that we have here at Once in a Wild, I am not going to lie, are pretty much legal pets in the United States if you happen to be interested in them. That does not mean that they make good pets or that you should have one for a pet, right? Because that's very important to consider what might be appropriate for you and what might be appropriate for them. Chameleons are terrible pets for most people. Now, a lot of people have the capacity to spend money on a giant enclosure for them, lighting that is proper for them, plants that you have to put in their habitat, the time and dedication it takes to housing a chameleon. But even the most dedicated and perfect chameleon keeper on earth, you're still going to have chameleons that get sick. You're still going to have chameleons that don't like you, like Thanos. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong necessarily. It could just mean that that's just the chameleon's personality. And maybe your chameleon is just a sickly chameleon and they just are going to get sick. And of course, they don't live very long. So eventually they're going to get sick, right? So they're really not the best pet choice for most people. Chameleons also don't typically do well with a lot of handling. As you can see, Thanos is terrible for handling. I am not touching him. I am not going to bug him too much. He's about to go back and rest and then go to bed because he's a diurnal animal, which is a daytime active animal. But yes, there's a lot of issues that can come about with chameleon. Chameleons are definitely a fragile animal. They get sick very easily and they typically don't show their illness until it's way too late, which is very sad. So not the best pet choice for most people. Although I know some people are still going to be wanting them. So the best thing to do is to do a ton of research, maybe get on a Facebook or other type of group like that and talk to a lot of people about their care. Do not buy from pet stores most of the time, unless it's a specialty pet store that is very, very good. There's a few of those. But most pet stores, they're not going to really be able to tell you the proper information. And they're going to be just looking for that sale. And I hate to talk like that, but it's just true. There's a lot of reptile breeders that you can go with instead, or even better, rescue an animal that needs a home. A lot of our reptiles, in fact, most of our lizards and reptiles in general are actually rescue animals because they're rehomed to us. People realize what they're getting into, or maybe they don't realize it. Maybe it was a kid's pet and they've outgrown it, so to say. So it's really important to do tons and tons of thinking and as much research and talking to other people as you can before you make that choice or decision to have any sort of pet, especially an exotic pet in your life. A lot of people see Tangled and they expect a chameleon to be like Pascal, but little did they know it's actually more like Thanos. So if you've seen the Marvel movies, you know what I'm talking about. He's really not a pleasant animal to be next to, and he doesn't really like you either. So just something to think about. But he is a wonderful education animal. We love to have them to be able to teach people all about them, and there's a ton of information about chameleons. So there are far more better choices of pets in general and even reptile pets than chameleons. I would say a snake is a far better choice depending on what kind of snake. Snakes are very, very easy to feed for the most part. They're very easy to keep healthy. Most snakes do very well. Chameleons, most of them don't. Some chameleons do great. I had a chameleon once that was a very easy animal to take care of. And that kind of ruined me for all the rest of the chameleons because I thought they were all like that. He's one of my first ones. I didn't really think that, but I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. And then, oh my gosh, now it's like, oh, why? Why did I think that? But it is what it is. The longer you have animals, the more you learn. And you learn from your mistakes and you learn from your choices and everything else. But it's more important to think about, is it right for the animal than you know, what's less important is, do I want it? I love them, things like that. But do they love living with you? That's really important to think about, right? So in my professional opinion, I don't think chameleons make good pets for literally anyone. Iguanas are another example of a terrible pet because they're really not a good pet. They're more of a specialty exotic type animal. And they are exotic, right? Iguanas are very dangerous too when they want to be. Monitor lizards are another one. Most of the time, monitors are not nice and can bite and things like that. But then there's animals like blue-tongued skinks, leopard geckos, and sometimes bearded dragons can make good pets for the right family as long as they're being very well taken care of, right? But we do get that question a lot is, does it make a good pet? Can I have it for a pet? Can I take it home now? That's always a no. We don't sell our animals. Once our animals actually come to live with us here at Once in a While, they never have to leave or find a new home. They have a permanent safe home with us, and that's where they stay. So Thanos, sorry, we're stuck together for your whole life. Too bad. But he is beautiful, even though he's very cranky. I hope you enjoyed seeing him, and he's going to go back down and rest while we talk about he's going to go rest first, and then we're going to meet our final animal friend. And I think I'm going to keep her kind of brief as well, just because We're already going a little late. Not too late for us, but it'd be nice not to go to 9 o'clock tonight. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the show so far. And so far, we've met a beautiful snake, the Woma python. He's just a baby one. His name is Logan. We talked about snake shedding. We talked about a beautiful panther chameleon who was extremely cranky to be out here. Sorry about that. I hope you don't take it personally. He doesn't like anyone. So he doesn't even like his main handler, which is me. So I always say this about my... oh, this is a good thing to post. I always say this about my iguana, or iguana Joanna. The iguana Joanna I've had since 13 years ago. She's one of our original animal ambassadors, even before Once in a Wild was in existence. And she was basically a pet of mine. I don't think she's a good pet, but she is an animal I've had in my care for a long time. And she only likes, here's what I say. People say, oh, is she a good pet? Da, 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 da. Can I have one? I want one, things like that. And I tell people, don't get one. This is like one of the worst pets of all time. They're full of weapons. They have a whipping tail with a razor blade on top. They have razor sharp teeth. Trust me. They have razor sharp fingernails and toenails. And they're very skittish and usually don't want to be held. She only likes me and not very much. That's what I usually say. She only likes me and not very much. That is true. Very true. I'm going to make sure there's not any more questions. Hello, 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 indeed. And Instagram, let's see if you guys have questions. Oh my gosh, Viviana is here. Hi, guys. We are in the home stretch of our live stream. Hello, everyone on Instagram. And hello up here. I should probably put my head up higher. Sorry, we simultaneously stream across social media, but for Instagram, we can't simultaneously post right now. Maybe times will change, who knows? But we have to use a different device. So I'm just going to check Instagram to see. Hello there. Been a long time, but glad to finally catch you all. Yes, me too. Oh, you would like an axolotl shirt? We have the stickers on our website for sure, and no need to apologize. Very, very good. Okay, so we're talking about, first of all, frequently asked questions. And by the way, if you've never been here before, my name is Amanda. This is Once in a Wild Wednesday, where we bring the zoo to you each and every, well, sometimes each and every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, as often as we can anyway. And we are streaming across social media. Let me know which one is your favorite social media platform, and we will do a little bit more over there. Maybe that's a good question to ask. And tonight we're talking about frequently asked questions. And if you guys want to help us out, by the way, another question I get sometimes is, how can we help you? What do the animals need? You can visit onceinawiled.com/donate and find all of our donation options down there. That helps us out quite a bit. Or even better, purchase your own custom animal encounter, whether it be virtual or in person in the South Texas area. We are in San Antonio, Texas, to be specific. So let us know if you want us to come out to your birthday party, classroom, nursing home, just because, Zoom, all sorts of options for you. We do provide petting zoos, animal therapy, animal presentations, which are very educational and interactive, if I do say so myself, and sometimes funny as well. Just have to see it to believe it. And very customized as well. And we also offer meet and greets and photo opportunities. So a little bit of something for everybody and a little bit of something for everybody's price range as well. I want you guys to know that. Okay, so tonight, the title of the show tonight is Why Do Cold-Blooded Animals Shed Their Skin? So one really cool, I would say, version of shedding is going to be by invertebrates. What do I mean by invertebrates? Well, those could be insects. Those could be, let's think of invertebrates with an exoskeleton. So not like octopus or squid. Those guys are very, very squishy and live in the water, right? So they have to float around. But animals like insects, like I said, of course, arachnids, crabs, all sorts of animals have an exoskeleton, right? I can think of a ton of them. Centipedes, arthropods in general, and tarantulas. Can you see? This is not a live animal. Can you believe that? This is not a live animal. This is actually an entire molt. Whoa, thank goodness it's not live. This is an entire molt. It's very lightweight as well, so it blew right out of my hand. Of our tarantula Blondie. Blondie, the Arizona blonde tarantula. Can you see how stiff it's like holding up like this? It's almost like a leaf when it gets dry, right? So I don't want to alarm you guys because this is not a real animal. It is the exoskeleton. It's real, but it is the molt of one of our tarantulas. How cool is this? It's like one of the coolest molt I've ever had. I hope it stays nice and intact so I can show it over and over again. You guys can see the fangs. This is a venomous animal, a venomous species. She's not dangerous to humans though. So this type of animal is venomous, toxic, and they use their venom to basically incapacitate or paralyze their prey, and then they will actually simultaneously like slobber all over their prey because a tarantula actually has no way to chew up their food. And they eat very crunchy animals like crickets and roaches and things like that. So they will grab the food with their front appendages. Their two little arms in front are called pedipalps, and their two front legs typically will help out as well. So that is actually, here are the pedipalps. Boop, boop. They're like little short, almost like legs. There they are, but they're like, looks cool next to my head. They are little arm-like appendages, and then there's the two front legs, right? So how many legs do spiders have? They have 8, and they're all attached to the middle section, or the front and middle section, which is the cephalothorax. A spider of all types have only 2 center body parts, cephalothorax and abdomen. You can see how squished the abdomen is on this molt because it's not the actual spider, right? It's kind of like imploded. But they will grab the food. Whoa, don't blow away. They grab the food and simultaneously inject venom with their fangs. The fangs usually are tucked away like this. See how they're tucked down? I know it's a little shaky because it's like really lightweight. The fangs are kind of tucked away like this. See that? So they're not dragging the ground or anything, getting caught on anything or anything like that. But when they do need them, they'll swing forward like a viper's fangs and bite or stab, I guess, envenomate the prey. Venom goes in, and then at the same time, they're holding onto it, biting, and they will keep biting, and they will simultaneously like slobber. Drool will come out of their mouth, and that's what dissolves the food into a drink. And then the tarantula can actually slurp up the food when it becomes a smoothie. So that's how a tarantula eats. They don't actually chew up anything. Scorpions do chew with their little crunchy mouths. They have like almost like little claws for mouths, and they also drool at the same time they're crunching up their food. But a scorpion will use their stinger in the back, right? They have a tail, if you will. It's a metasoma, but it's a tail, and they'll stab or puncture the prey while grabbing it with their claws. They're very different, even though they're super related. But I digress again. But yeah, look at a cool molt. You can see this is called the carapace, which is the top section of that midsection that they have. Top section of the midsection. See how it's like flapping? I don't want to break it too much because I don't want to lose this molt. Can y'all see it? And then underneath here, I hope it doesn't break. Underneath here, that's where the legs kind of like came out of. So what happens is the entire tarantula will literally take its entire exoskeleton or shell off, and they slip out of it like this. And those little holes that you saw there are where the legs actually come out of. And if you catch the molt in time, you can actually kind of preserve it a little bit. It just dries up. And that's what I've done. I kept it in a little container, and it's just dried up just like that. It's like another spider. So do you want to see the real life spider? Some of you are like, no, she's very sweet. So this is Blondie's exoskeleton. It's like a twin. How cool is that? And by the way, the exoskeleton of a invertebrate of any type, whether it be an arachnid, insect, whatever it is, crab, it is made out of chitin. I'm pretty sure they're all made out of chitin. I could be wrong about the crab, but I do know that arthropods, which are all the jointed, leggy type invertebrates like these, with the exoskeletons, their outer layer is made out of chitin and not keratin. This is keratin, my hair. Your fingernails are also keratin. Keratin is what the reptile scales are made out of, and their epidermal layer. This is a different material called chitin, and sometimes chitin is hairy, but it's not made out of hair. It's made out of chitin. You see the hair? Hair is what gives a spider their best sense, which is a sense of touch or a vibration. And that's to compensate for poor vision on this animal. They actually have terrible vision. They do have 8 eyes, but they're super tiny. The eyes are located right on the top of their head. cephalothorax, head and body combo. What else? So they have those hairy legs and bodies, hairs all over the place. And their hair is called setae. It's not really hair, it's setae, but it's hair-like. It's very hairy, hairy-ish. But that is made out of chitin and not keratin. So I'm going to set the molt down for a little bit. Isn't that fascinating? I love this. I hope it doesn't. Typically these molts, they tend to kind of break apart very easily because they're as fragile as a dry leaf. But that is okay because it is not the real animal. It is dead skin, essentially, just like the snake shed. But the snake shed usually lasts a lot longer because it's flexible, it's pliable. And this is almost a perfect shed. Like I said, the little tail tip kind of broke off, but that was after the fact. He shed amazingly. And so this shed should last a long time. It's nice and pliable and everything. It did not break apart. Some sheds are a little bit like that, though. Okay, so let's introduce you guys to the real thing and see how she feels about it. Blondie is a very nice tarantula most of the time, but she's still a wild critter, so we will see how she feels today. Now, she looks so pretty, you guys. I wish you could have seen her before. You may want to look back at other videos of her before. She's like a brand new woman now. She even acts a little bit different. Now, after a tarantula molts, they typically are a little bit nervous. It's already been a full week, so it's okay to handle her. I'm being very gentle because all tarantulas are pretty fragile, especially ground-dwelling tarantulas like the Arizona blonde. She's not a climbing tarantula, so I have to be very, very careful with how I hold her and things so she doesn't fall. That is extremely important because they do not have the ability to survive a fall. I do also have a very, very cushioned table with it's a blanket underneath her, so don't worry, she's gonna be okay. I'll do my very best. But you can see how beautiful she is. She's like a brand new spider again. She used to have like a totally different color. She was more of a blonde than a red. She almost looks like a Mexican red leg tarantula right now. Kind of more of a red hue. Isn't she beautiful? I just want to hold her like this so I don't have any accidents. But look how gorgeous she is. She's such a nice tarantula too. She's very soft right now as well. When they first come out of their exoskeleton, their body is extremely soft. And during the time when they're molting, they're extremely vulnerable as well. They're actually in a very, very, very dangerous position for predators and things like that. And they may have a very easy time becoming eaten because they're totally off guard. Typically, a tarantula doesn't molt that often, number one, as an adult. As a baby, they molt a lot in order to grow and grow and grow, just like any ectothermic or cold-blooded animal. They need to concentrate on growing up. That way they're not food for other animals as often, right? But when they go into their molt as adult, it's much less often. This tarantula, this is the first time she's ever molted for us. And we don't know her age. We got Blondie as an adult, so she could be an old woman for all I know. I got a little bit nervous when she went into her molting pre-molt behavior. She started acting really, really off. She wanted to hide a lot. She did not want to be held. But now I know why, because it's a very, very kind of fragile state, vulnerable time in their life. So they need to go away and hide. They need to be by themselves. They typically will do that overnight inside of their burrow, underground, something like that, where they're nice and safe. And they can take the time to go ahead and do what they need to do. And that's going to help them grow. Same thing as the snake. It's going to help them heal. As you can see, she used to be kind of bald back here because that does happen as they mature age. We've had her for a long time and she's never molted as an adult for us. I'm sure she molted as a baby and maybe right before we got her. But as they age, they become more tattered. They get rubbed marks on them. They get little boo-boos here and there, and that will completely heal as they molt, right? So when they do molt, that's all going to go away and it's like a brand new spider again. Now, it's important not to handle them for at least 1 week after they molt as well. If you happen to have a tarantula or you're curious about that, we don't actually handle her at all or any of the tarantulas after they molt because their body is still soft. The exoskeleton shell around them is still hardening and things. So they need to be left alone so that they can kind of come back to normal. And it's important not to feed them for at least a week as well. You want to make sure their fangs look like fangs again. See, it looks just like the molt, but she's alive. This is not a molt. It's a real spider this time. See those fangs? They are black, just like the molt fangs were black. When they first molt, they're very soft. They're kind of a different color all over, and the fangs are actually red. They are not hard and not black. So if you give them food while their fangs are still hardening and not black, they will actually not be able to bite their prey, and their prey could actually harm them. They could be bitten by a cricket or a roach and then be very, very injured. So it's important not to feed them as well for at least a week after they molt. And they also go upside down when they molt too, in order to pull their entire body out of that shell. So if you have a pet tarantula out there and you're new to pet tarantulas, please don't be alarmed if your pet tarantula turns upside down and starts acting weird. Give it a night, give it a couple of days. They might just be going into their molt, which typically is overnight and it happens very fast. But for these older tarantulas, it sometimes can be slower. Babies molt very quickly. But don't be alarmed. That's very natural. What you do want to be actually worried about is if their body is dragging the ground and they're kind of curled up like this. They don't die like this. They don't go upside down and die. They actually lay on their belly. That's how they pass away. That's a different position, right? Oh my goodness. A lot of people do ask me if she's poisonous as well. Is that poisonous? The answer is yes. She is poisonous. She is venomous. She is not necessarily a poisonous animal. Some animals do eat tarantulas like this for their breakfast, lunch, and dinner out in the wild. This is an Arizona blonde tarantula. So out in Arizona and surrounding states is where they live, mostly in deserts, right? Deserts and scrubs, which are like dry places as well, other dry places. They will get eaten by birds and lizards and all sorts of animals. So they're not poisonous to them at all. But she is a venomous animal. She does have fangs. She does have venom. So she would bite her prey, like I already described, and use her venom to incapacitate, and then she would be able to digest and slurp up her food. That is what her venom is for. So she is venomous, but if I were to get bitten by this tarantula, I would be fine. This type of tarantula doesn't have very strong venom to a human, and most tarantulas don't really have that strong of venom either. And some tarantulas do have painful venom, but there is 0 species of tarantula that are deadly to a human. There are a few spiders that are a little bit more, severe if you get bitten by them, such as the widows and the recluses. But even those, typically there's going to be an anti-venom for you at the hospital. So you will be okay. Just get to the hospital. Don't wait, though. You want to make sure and seek medical help immediately. But there's ways to avoid that nowadays. And if you avoid the spider altogether, you're probably going to be fine. Most of the time, those widows and recluses aren't even aggressive spiders at all. Some other species of spider might be more aggressive and bite. Tarantulas are really not that aggressive. Most species of tarantula are very passive. They would rather stay hidden. They're typically underground anyway, and they're not going to be seen at all. So it's really not much to worry about. Aren't they beautiful? And tarantulas certainly help us out by eating lots of roaches, flies, mosquitoes, all sorts of bugs that can carry disease and things like that. They help us out quite a bit. But yes, she is venomous. She needs her venom to be able to eat. She has to have the venom. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Well, I'm going to handle her very, very minimally today because she did just go through a molt a week ago, even though it's now the safe window of time to do so. I just want to make sure she's comfortable and not too nervous. She's such a wonderful I almost said show animal, but she is a show animal, I guess. She's a wonderful animal ambassador to show, to have people learn about tarantulas. And she's actually a great tarantula to have for animal therapy, for exposure therapy. If you happen to be scared, arachnophobic, or just a little nervous around creepy crawlies, she's a very gentle spider. And we can start by bringing her over and just having her around you. You don't have to hold her at all if you don't want to. We don't typically let people hold our tarantulas that often, unless you're very careful and things like that. It's a case-by-case basis always. But tarantulas are actually way more fragile than we are. And they're not designed to like jump around and fall and things like that, especially these types of tarantulas. They're for the ground. They're designed for the ground. They're not designed to jump around in trees. We do have another species of tarantula, and actually several, that are tree tarantulas. Those are a little bit less fragile, but they're still fragile animals. So we have to be very careful. So she's going to wave goodbye and just hang out down below. I'm going to make sure that she's nice and safe. And just set her down so she can be comfy. She deserves it, right? And that is actually going to be our final animal for today's show. But I want to know what you guys want to know as well. So if you guys have any other questions for us whatsoever, feel free to message us on social media, or of course, go to onceinawild.com if you have any questions about booking your own animal program coming up. They're great for classrooms, great for birthdays, great for anyone, to be honest. Animal therapy, anything at all. You let us know if you have questions. We'll send you all the information. We'll send you the animal list. There's something for everyone. We don't just have creepy crawlies. I know I've been showing a lot of reptiles and arachnids and kind of those category of animals, amphibians, but we have a lot of other animals too. And most of the reason why I'm showing some of these smaller animals lately is to give some of our other animals a break because they're working a lot lately, which is great. We have a lot of programs going on, a lot of bookings, a lot of parties. So it's really good for those animals to take a break every now and then. And then the animal that didn't work today, I have some choices there, right? So I just chose based on that. And then some animals like Sandor, the rabbit, he doesn't really care if he gets to work again or not. He's good either way. So there are exceptions for sure. Some animals have a very easygoing personality when it comes to that. So we make our choices based on that and based on what we think you guys would want to see. I think the panther chameleon was just beautiful tonight. The tarantula, of course, and her molt. I can keep showing that. There it is, the molt. How cool is this? I was so excited. And I was very happy to see her doing well, as opposed to the opposite. It made me nervous to see her a little bit different, acting different. Not the same Blondie that I've known for 5 or 6 years now. She was acting really off, and now I know why. She was just in her molt, which is great. Good for her, like a new woman. But yeah, so like I said, we have all sorts of animal choices for you. If you are interested at all in helping us out or booking your own animal encounter, please let us know. Visit onceinawild.com for more information and our direct phone number. And we would love to see you guys next week on the show. We'll plan to be here. If we're not, we'll run a rerun as usual. And we hope to see you next time, okay? Have a great week. Bye, guys. We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. That's the fun for me and you. Alrighty, you guys. We see you. Alrighty, you guys. Well, we'll see you next time, whenever that may be, right here on Once in a Wild Wednesday. See you next time, guys. Bye.